Strawberry matcha.
You make a matcha latte.
Matcha.
Favorite matcha drinks.
Always get like this when I have a matcha.
The matcha empire is here to stay, and we should talk about it. How did a centuries-old Japanese tea become a $4 billion global icon? Matcha, it got a glow up. Now, I've loved matcha for years, but not long ago, no one was talking about it, and you couldn't easily find that in cafes. But now, matcha is everywhere. You can find them at major coffee chains and all across our social medias. This is the story of how matcha was reimagined for the global audience and what that transformation says about us. So in this video, we're diving into business, branding, and cultural forces behind matcha's rise and how it became the drink of the digital age. If you consider yourself a matcha enthusiast or you're a marketer, keep on watching. Let's first get the basics of what matcha is. The word comes from the Japanese characters matcha and has a deep cultural tie to Japan's tea ceremonies. It's essentially a shade-grown, fine powdered green tea whisked into hot water or milk. But matcha has become a cultural and lifestyle symbol. The global matcha market is valued at over $4.7 billion and is projected to reach over $7.4 billion by 2030. In North America alone, matcha accounts for roughly 26% of the market share. So how did we get here? When it comes to how matcha is marketed in the West today, there's a few narratives that reflect the current priorities of our generation. Matcha is at the center, the intersection of our obsession with wellness, craftsmanship, Japanese aesthetics, and social media. Well, matcha is basically the wellness industry's dream beverage. The color alone, that vibrant green, perfectly lends itself to marketing because green typically symbolizes healthy, natural, and clean, all of which matcha embodies. And speaking of clean, matcha is often marketed as this cleaner alternative to coffee. And because it contains L-theanine, it's supposed to give you a less jittery, more stable energy than the caffeine from coffee. On matcha product labels, you'll also see terms like antioxidant rich, adaptogenic, and superfood. All of this has an implied message that you're not just drinking caffeine, you're doing something good for your body. Matcha also gets an added boost from the way people perceive Japanese wellness. So the Japanese diet is often associated with longevity and something to aspire to. So just by being a part of that culture, matcha is seen as better for you. So matcha comes with a rich backstory. It's tied to ancient rituals, specifically Japanese tea ceremonies and Zen practices. This creates a feeling of respect and reverence, an appreciation for process and intention. Think about how often you see matcha brands explaining to you how to prepare matcha properly, the ideal water temperature, the right way to whisk your matcha so that the foam is just right, and even how to store the powder so that it doesn't lose its flavor. All this to say, it's not just another drink, it's an intentional moment. And matcha brands will often emphasize things like stone ground in small batches, hand-picked leaves, and usually the region of the farms like Yuji or Shizuoka are name dropped. This all ties back to the sense of quality and backstory that consumers appreciate. Investing in small batch goods means you're supporting quality, durability, and craftsmanship over mass-produced alternatives while also promoting sustainability. You want to feel good about your purchase. And there's also different grade levels to consider when talking about matcha. You may have heard of the term ceremonial versus culinary. This suggests a hierarchy of quality, which add to the perception of value and exclusivity. And just to give you a price comparison between the two, a ceremonial matcha may cost you anywhere from $25 to $45 a 10 versus culinary grade, maybe between $10 to $20. When purchasing matcha, people feel proud to support after learning their stories. Now let's talk about Japan aesthetics. There's this broader Western fascination with all things Japanese: anime, minimalism, skincare, interiors, and so much more. When Japan opened up after the pandemic, there was an influx of tourism. In 2024, Japan welcomed over 36.8 million visitors, marking a significant recovery from the pandemic. And this contributes to the growing surge in matcha demand globally. Because to many people, Japan represents quality, refinement, and good aesthetics. And on TikTok, you'll often see captions like, "Japan's living in 2050," or "things in Japan that just make sense." Matcha becomes a way to participate in that culture, to connect with something that feels elevated, aesthetic, and meaningful. Okay, now I want to talk about aspirational identity. On social media, matcha thrives.
So you only drink it because it's trending? No, I drink it because it's delicious.
I think matcha's a cult.
Do you want to try some?
Alongside your favorite lifestyle creators' morning routines, matcha lattes are often a part of that routine. Trends like that girl or main character era, these all tie into this visual identity that many aspire to have. On TikTok, there's over 1.3 million posts under hashtag matcha. People are very interested in the subject of matcha across all social media platforms. There's this perception of, if you drink matcha, you can also be this more elevated, productive version of yourself. But it goes beyond just making the perfect matcha latte. Influencers have also gotten into some serious matcha ventures. Like, for example, Ashley, also known as Your Mom Ashley on YouTube, she revealed that her matcha brand, Nami Matcha, launched and sold over $100,000 worth of matcha in just 3 minutes. Similar to that, influencers like Emma Chamberlain have also promoted the lifestyle of matcha by including matcha in her popular brand, Chamberlain Coffee. These products aren't in isolation. Your matcha purchase signals not only do you have good taste, you're investing in your lifestyle. This naturally Instagrammable drink has also translated to offline. Cafes that serve matcha often look just as good as the drinks. Think pastel interiors, natural light, and neon signs. These specialty chains have built entire aesthetics around it, inviting customers to pose with their drinks and hopefully post about them on socials. Increasingly, people aren't just ordering matcha, but they're also learning to make it at home. In fact, home-use matcha sales have surged, with more customers opting to recreate viral TikTok recipes. It's become a part of people's daily rituals. So in short, the aspirational lifestyle tied into the marketing of matcha is powerful. Everyone wants to channel this main character energy following the lead of their favorite content creators. I still remember a time when matcha was just green tea. Almost 2 decades ago, I had matcha ice cream for the very first time at the airport in South Korea. And it was a Haagen-Dazs. I wanted to find a similar flavor back in the US, but back home, the only green desserts we had were mint chocolate and pistachio. Matcha wasn't really even on the radar, but now matcha is the brand. This shift signifies the evolution. It's transcended from more generic image of green tea and stepping into a new era. People are willing to pay more for the quality, the origin story, and the lifestyle. Many folks will even stock up when they travel to Japan. So speaking of traveling, one moment that stuck with me recently, I was traveling in Europe and I was at the London's King Cross station, and through the crowd, I actually saw a sign. The sign featured tough-looking biker guys and read, "Matcha isn't just for the girlies."
Nani?
Matcha checks all the boxes for the perfect recipe for a global craze. The wellness ties, the strong tradition, appreciation for Japanese aesthetics, and being a part of this aspirational lifestyle. There's still a lot of uncertainty and challenges as to the future of matcha, because like many, I've heard news about the matcha shortages that have impacted supply back in Japan. Will Japan be able to meet the global matcha demand? And how will it evolve in the future? So I'd love to hear your thoughts below on this topic, especially if you're a matcha enthusiast or someone who's operating a matcha business. Matcha brings me joy whenever I get a chance to prepare it or see it on the menu. Personally, I hope matcha continues to be a calming ritual and a bridge between cultures. All right, that's it for this video. I hope you enjoyed and got some good insights. See you in the next one.